Consider the number 0.000000015 farads. As we previously demonstrated, this can be most efficiently represented as 15 nanofarads using proper engineering format. Capacitors, a type of electrical component we'll explore in greater detail in later lectures, are specified units of farads. Let's say we need a 15 nanofarad capacitor to finish up the killer robot we're working on. We might run into some problems searching through the stockroom though, because no one makes a 15 nanofarad capacitor. For some unknown reason, the capacitor manufacturers of the world only very rarely specify capacitors in units of nanofarads, and customarily restrict themselves to using only microfarads or picofarads. Our task is to convert 15 nanofarads into an equivalent number of microfarads. Simple. Overlay the number 15 nanofarads horizontally inside the vertical prefix column. Expressed as nanofarads, the decimal place is here. If you want to express the same number in units of microfarads, realize a microfarad is 1,000 times greater than a nanofarad. A microfarad has a higher currency value than a smaller nanofarad, therefore we might expect a smaller number of microfarads to yield an equivalency. Move the decimal place 3 steps left. 15 nanofarads expressed as microfarads is 0.015 microfarad. Most likely the component we need is inside the drawer labeled 0.015 microfarads. Laid out in this fashion, one can convert the same number to any other prefix as desired. For example, a shift right from the nanofarad into the picofarad column demonstrates 15 nanofarads is equivalent to 15,000 picofarads. Again, all these numbers are the same. They're just different ways of expressing the same value. Let's put your understanding of this concept to the test. Given the set of measurements, see if you can convert them to the desired prefix. By all means, pause the lecture and try this yourself. Now, before you run off and mess this up, here's a hint. Maybe try 1 or 2 of these and then take a quick peek at the correct answers to make sure you're tracking before you continue. I've noticed individuals new to this concept sometimes lose the trail early and then never find it again. Check in every now and then to make sure you're still on the path. If you're tracking, you should have obtained the following results. Our first example asks us to convert 312 microamps to units of milliamps. Overlay the number 312 microamps horizontally inside the vertical prefix columns. Expressed as microamps, the decimal place is here. We want to express the same number in units of milliamps. Milliamp is 1,000 times greater than a microamp. If you want to think of it this way, a milliamp is a higher currency value than a smaller microamp. Therefore, we might expect a smaller number of milliamps to yield an equivalency. Move the decimal places 3 steps to the left into the milliampere column. 312 microamps expressed as milliamps is 0.312 milliamps. Keep in mind, you don't always have to shift directly from one prefix to the next, but rather one can also use the base unit as an intermediary. This makes a great way of checking your work. For example, 312 microamps in the base unit of amps necessitates the shift 6 steps left, so 312 microamps is equivalent to 0.000312 amps. One can then convert the base unit to the desired prefix, in this case milliamperes. The shift from base unit of amps to milliamps necessitates a 3 jump right. 0.000312 amps is equivalent to 0.312 milliamps, confirming our earlier results. You might find this base unit intermediary method more reliable, albeit a little bit more time consuming. After some exposure, it might be more efficient to do direct jumps. The second and third examples are kind of related. We've been given the same number in units of millihenries and are being asked to convert it to both microhenries and smaller nanohenries. Overlay the number 22 millihenries horizontally inside the vertical prefix column. Expressed as millihenries, the decimal place is here. If we wanted to express the same number in units of microhenries, a microhenry is 1,000 times smaller than a millihenry. If you want to think of it this way, a microhenry is a lower currency value than a larger millihenry, therefore we might require a greater number of microhenries to yield an equivalency. Move the decimal point 3 steps right. 22 millihenries is equal to 22,000 microhenries. The third example essentially asks us to keep going and convert 22 millihenries to units of nanohenries. Another jump at the decimal place 3 steps right demonstrates 22 millihenries is equal to 22 million nanohenries. It makes sense. A nanohenry is 1,000 times 1,000, or 1,000,000 times smaller than a millihenry, so it takes 1,000,000 times as many nanohenries to yield an equivalent amount of millihenries. The next problem should be pretty easy. We've been given a time value in units of milliseconds and are being asked to convert it to the base unit of seconds. Chances are this is a very small number of seconds. Move the decimal place 3 steps left. 5 milliseconds, expressed in the base unit of seconds, is 0.005 seconds, or 5/1000ths of a second. The next couple of problems are very practical in nature. Sometimes measurement equipment is restricted to a specific prefix. Consider a digital multimeter in ohm meter mode, a device we'll examine at length in later lectures, used to measure resistance specified in units of ohms, functionally restricted to expressing this measured value only in units of kiloohms. The ohm meter is being used to measure two resistors, one having a value of 680 ohms, the other having a value of 20 megaohms expressed using proper engineering format. Problem is, this device can only measure in kiloohms. Overlay the number 680 ohms horizontally inside the vertical prefix columns. Expressed using the base unit of ohms, the decimal place is here. We want to express the same number in units of kiloohms. Move the decimal point 3 steps left. 680 ohms is equivalent to 0.68 kiloohms. Similarly, overlay the number 20 megaohms horizontally inside the vertical prefix columns. Expressed using megaohms, the decimal point is here. We want to express the same number in units of kiloohms. Move the decimal point 3 steps right. 20 megaohms is equivalent to 20,000 kiloohms. Similar techniques yield the following equivalencies for the remaining problems. 3.3 nanofarads is equivalent to 3,300 picofarads. Finally, a shift of the decimal point 3 positions left demonstrates 9.4 kilowatts is equivalent to 0.0094 megawatts. Before we move on to another set of illustrated examples, I want to show you a quick means of checking your work using the TI-89 scientific calculator. Provided the TI-89 is set up in exponential format engineering as requested, you'll recall the calculator takes any confusing tangle of numbers you throw at it in whatever format you want, chops it up, cleans it up, straightens it out, and displays it using proper engineering format. In short, the TI-89 always uses proper engineering format. This fact can be used to check our work. Consider our second and third examples, where we've been given a measurement of 22 millihenries and are being asked to convert it to both microhenries and nanohenries. 22 millihenries is proper engineering format, and no matter how you enter into the TI-89 will always reformat any equivalent value as 22 millihenries. The TI-89 would express 22 millihenries as 22e negative 3, a coefficient of 22, e telling you it's in engineering, times 10 raised to the power of negative 3, or 0.001. If this is true, we should be able to enter our equivalent values in units of microhenries or nanohenries or whatever we want to make sure they really are equivalent. Enter 22 microhenries as 22,000 EE negative 6 and press enter. The TI-89 immediately places it in proper engineering format as 22e negative 3 or 22 millihenries, demonstrating 22,000 microhenries is indeed equivalent to 22 millihenries. Similarly, enter 22 million nanohenries as 22,000 EE negative 9 and press enter. The TI-89 again immediately places it in proper engineering format as 22e negative 3 or 22 millihenries, again demonstrating 22 million nanohenries is indeed equivalent to 22 millihenries. Again, you can enter any number in any fashion. The TI-89 will always automatically reformat to proper engineering format. You cannot get this wrong. For example, expressed using the base unit of henries, 22 millihenries is equivalent to 0.022 henries. Simply type this value in as 0.022 and press enter. Again, the TI-89 immediately places in proper engineering format as 22e negative 3 or 22 millihenries, as we might expect. All right, let's close out this lecture with another set of example problems to see if you really are tracking. Given the set of measurements, see if you can convert them to the desired prefix. By all means, use your calculator to check your work. Go ahead and pause the lecture and try this yourself. If you're tracking, you should have obtained the following results. Presented without comment, 20 kilohertz is equivalent to 0.02 megahertz. 10 microseconds is equivalent to 0.01 milliseconds. 2 meters is equivalent to 2,000 millimeters. And the same quantity of 2 meters is equivalent to 0.002 kilometers. 20.4 kiloohms is equivalent to 20,400 ohms. 1.7 megawatts is equivalent to 1,700 kilowatts. 3.4 milliamps is equivalent to 3,400 microamps. And 5 gigawatt hours is equivalent to 5 million kilowatt hours. All right, hopefully that went well with you. In closing, I should remind you, we'll be making use of these skills all day, every day for the rest of your life, so get good at it now. If you're less than confident with your ability to convert between different engineering prefixes, I'm asking you to get confident in these skills before moving on to the next topic. By all means, rewind and revisit this lecture as many times as you need. Practice, practice, practice. Engineering notation might be entirely foreign to you, but trust me, just like learning a new language, it'll get easier and more natural with repeated exposure. In conclusion, this lecture took a look at conversion between different engineering prefixes. We learned there's a useful symmetry of 1,000 times between adjacent engineering prefixes, and by shifting the decimal point 3 steps to each prefix, we can represent numbers using different prefixes and still maintain equivalency. Remember to review this material as often as you need to really drive it home. Imagine how well lab will go if you know what you're doing. Thank you very much for your attention and interest. We'll see you again during the next lecture of our series. Remember to tell your lazy lab partner about this resource. Be sure to check out the Big Bad Tech channel for additional resources and updates.